Welcome to the Care Experience. This is episode 7 and I'm joined by Dillon Nolan.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. Now, I met Dillon first when I came to Epic because I met him on the Epic Council. Do you want to elaborate more on how you joined?
Yeah, so when I joined the Epic Council, I was talking with my aftercare worker, and I was just really kind of like fed up and annoyed with a lot of the policies, and just kind of I wanted to have a voice in kind of talks and decisions about care. And when my aftercare worker told me about the Epic Youth Council, I was like, I need to join that. Like, I need to be a part of that. So I remember he had like a little poster with all the details and information, and it said that I had to write like an essay. And I think I talked to you about this before. Like, but
Yeah.
no one else
Not
had
one
to
person.
write an
Not one
essay.
person
By the
had to write
way,
an essay. I showed up and they were like, okay, cool. Come to the, was it at the regional meeting that Saturday? And then that was me joining.
right. Well, for me, I wrote a 3-page essay
Okay.
on issues, and like I was trying to be real professional and stuff like that, just trying to sell myself, like, to the council, like, please pick me, like. And then I went to an interview, like, and I dressed up for it, like, I think I was wearing a shirt and all, like, and I went in and I was just like, I was presenting all my points and stuff, like, this is why I need to be on the council, because I want to talk about this and that, like. And the person that was interviewing me was like, okay, this is like, this has never happened before.
I actually, because I just moved to Dublin at that stage, I didn't know anything about the buses or anything like that, which I figured out the bus to get into town was right beside me. Hadn't a clue. I walked it's like an hour and 40 minutes. I never walked that now. Like,
you walk around town for an hour and 40 minutes?
I walked all the way in and then all the way back. But because I didn't realise that what buses to get, like, because I was just new to it.
Yeah.
Now I just use Google Maps, put in a location, and it'll show me what bus route to get.
New to like public transport, or
No, just
Dublin?
new to Dublin. Like, I just moved up. Like, like, it was like,
Yeah.
it was my second or third day. Like, I just didn't know what buses
Yeah.
to get. Like, 'cause
I feel like that as well a bit. Like, I'm on placement at the moment in Newbridge in Kildare, and like, I get this. It's called, like, they all call it down there, like, the green bus, but the number, like, I'm so used to saying the number, so 726, like, is the bus.
Yeah.
And like, I'll go out and people be asking me, like, oh, what bus did you get down, like. And I was like, oh, the 726. And they're like, what bus is that? I was like, oh, like, the green bus, like. And they're like, oh, yeah. So it's like, yeah.
the green bus must be a tough time to be a colourblind person around that part. Like,
Yeah.
the green bus, whoa. Yeah, that's it. That one, mad, like, anxious, trying to figure it out.
Not the blue one.
Not the blue one. Jesus, it must be a tough time. Like, you must be like a breath of fresh air for that person. It's like, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now
That's it.
I've been living here for the last
This random
14
colourblind
months.
person. Yeah. You finally helped me.
You touched on you're talking to the aftercare worker and she wanted to make some changes in the system.
Yeah.
So since you said that to her, have you done any presentations or like helped out in any organizations or kind of talks or anything that actually brought some change?
Yeah, so just starting with, like, I've done a few talks and stuff, and more around the awareness of issues. So in college, like, I go to college in Maynooth, and they're so, like, they just really want to hear all about it, and it's great that they like allow that space to kind of open up and talk. And I've done one lecture in my child policy class last year on residential care, which is where I would have grown up in.
Yeah.
And just kind of information about it, and to that class, like. And I was glad that kind of that, like, when I left, I knew that like people kind of knew more about it, and the fact that they were hearing it from someone that actually went through that experience was just like really important to me, because I was able to give like more of a balanced view of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And a while back you won an award.
Oh yeah, I won the Maynooth alumni award, which is for any type of work, like of volunteer work or working with the group. So I got it because I work with the EPIQ Council, and I'm on the EPIQ Council, and like,
Where's my award? Sure,
you
I'm on it as well.
Go to
like,
Maynooth, like, you know.
oh,
Yeah,
bollocks.
we'll have to get you in, like, you know.
We'll have to sneak
Yeah.
me in as like, just give me a word. I know I don't go here, but like, why not?
I think I might be able to say that actually.
Yeah,
You know,
like just why not? And they're like, do you know what? You're right.
yeah, sure. Like here, it's in the back, like, you know.
yeah, just there, like, yeah, you can't bring me around Maynooth now, because like they'd be like having their eyes on me, like scoping out the place, and I'd be like, where's that fucking award? Like, yeah. So, you grew up in residential care, and you actually had a positive experience. Do you want to touch on that a bit?
Yeah, so like I think compared to a lot of people, like I really enjoyed my time in residential care. It was much more suited to me than foster care. I think like not to bash foster cares at all, like, but we weren't suited for each other. Every foster placement I was in, it was just very obvious. But in residential care, it was I liked the fact that like there was a few different staff that like they all kind of brought something different each day. There was my key worker, PJ. He was really into music, and he loved like showing off like his favorite bands and stuff, like, and like he was just great for talking about that type of stuff, because I was really into music. And I just don't think you could kind of get that in a foster care place, for me anyway, for what I would have wanted. And I just really liked growing up around other young people that were sharing the same experience as me, so that like it was something that I could talk to if I didn't want to talk to staff, you know.
That's a very interesting perspective, considering some people would hate that, like they'd
definitely
hate to see people like new workers coming and like leaving and all that. It's like, it is a hard thing,
and I totally understand that, and I think that's really important to point out. But I also think there's the other side, that for some people that just works for them. I know for me it really worked for me, and it's a bit it's a bit sad, I guess, that the fact that like residential care homes are kind of treated as the last resort now. And the fact that you can kind of see them, like a lot of them are closing down. Like my home closed down, and it's just
how long has it been closed down?
Like, I think a few years now, maybe 2 or 3. But yeah, I just think it's really important. So while I think it's definitely not for everyone, it's definitely not for most people in care. It's definitely, I can only speak for myself, and I really just thought it was better for me than foster care anyway.
Yeah, it's good that you found a place that suits you perfectly. Like, I think that's very interesting, and it just goes to show like everyone like needs different environments, like has different needs. Like some people may need a foster care or like an adopted, and that's what they want. Well, your experience shows a different story, and I think that's a very good story to highlight. And like, even like as you're saying, it's the last resort. There are really good residential workers out there who do a great job, and they should be celebrated as well. Like,
I work in a residential home at the moment, actually.
Jesus,
I know,
can't get away from the places.
I know, yeah. Like, I loved it so much. I had to go back, like, you know. Yeah, and it's it's weird being on the other side of that. But
how does it make you feel, like considering that you were once there? Like, how does it make you feel like when you're looking at younger people? Is it like looking at a younger self nearly?
Yeah, well, I'm still kind of only new to that job, to that role, but I think the weirdest thing is it's just being in the office, because I know when I was growing up in care, like, you know, you just wouldn't go into that office. Like, that was for staff only. And sometimes when I'm sitting in there, I'm like, oh, someone's gonna ask me to go, you know.
So you're working there, you're studying a minute. Do you want to elaborate on what you're studying?
Yeah, so I'm studying to become a social worker. So I'm doing the Masters of Social Work at the moment. I'm in my first year, so I'm still learning a lot, and there's still loads and loads to learn. So
yeah, if anyone wants to set up a GoFundMe page to pay off his student loans, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah. Can we fund that, actually, please?
Yeah, we can fund it. We can look, if you're like, you're helping the X Factor and all that crack, like, might as well help Dillon with his fees, like.
Oh yeah.
And on top of that, just get him a mansion and a Ferrari, like.
Like, you know, I'm not asking for much, like, you know.
It's not asking for much, like.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm asking for 2 Ferraris or 2 mansions, like. That's way.
No, I'm asking for 3, actually.
Just 3,
okay,
just 3 each.
Well, you need one as well, like, you know, like, obviously.
One is mine, one is yours, one is to share.
Yeah.
And which is mad colours.
Yeah.
Also, the house needs to be painted different colour every week, just to keep it interesting.
Yeah, like, we actually need that, you know, to be like, I write a lot of songs, so I need to have that, like, you know, painting just really helps me, like,
it just,
you know.
it just brings out my
and more cars, actually.
the creative journey.
Yeah.
Masters, that's great, and that's a brilliant thing to be doing. And how do you find it, like?
I'm really enjoying, like, I when I wanted to be a social worker, before I started, I was like, I really wanted to do that. But once I actually started, and now that I'm in it, like, it's 10 times better than I would have expected. Is that the fan there?
The fan has been on this whole time. I forgot about it. What an amateur.
Hopefully.
No, it's grand. We'll just use the footage, and if we can't use the footage,
we can just do it again.
No, we'll just use the footage. Like, the people get what they get.
Yeah, that's it. Like, you know, like, we're not being funded, so
yeah.
Just like,
this isn't a public library that we're recording. A public library inside our mansion.
You can pay us next time. But,
okay.
But what were we talking about?
The Masters.
Yeah. So it's just 10 times better than what I would have expected. It really, really is. I just really love social work. You know, it's learning to be a social. Everything that I'm learning, it's like, it's weird to say, like, oh yeah, like, you know, there has to be a time to stop learning, but like, there just isn't. You know, I'm constantly, like, today I was in the CCJ courts, which is in the city centre, just to kind of get that experience of being in there, because I'm like, I just want to be, like, exposed to all of it, you know, and I just think it's so interesting. It's just such an interesting course, like, and I just really, really love it. Like,
you must love it if you came from residential care and all that, and you're jumping back in. Like, it's your whole life journey.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel, like, when you think like that? Like,
I think it's. I think it's good, you know. I think it's important that, like, for me anyway, I think social workers and any profession that kind of works with people, people that use a service need to also be represented on the other side of that service to give that type of help. So social workers, there should be social workers that have come through the care system, and that's why I want to be a social worker. I think that people that have that lived experience only improve the system, and they can pick out things that people that don't have that lived experience wouldn't ever see. Those little things. Like, I was talking to my aftercare worker about when I was finally kind of had decided, like, this is what I want to do with social work, and I had brought up this conversation I had with him, like, social workers just won't recognise a lot of things until they're actually told about it, and then they help, you know, which is great. But it's I remember when I first moved out when I was 18, you have to, it's a funny story. You have to have ID to buy knives. in like any type of store like Argos or anything like that. Like so when I didn't have a passport when I left care, so but I needed knives, so I went. Yeah, like like
Let's just cut that there. Dylan from Care needed knives.
for no
Headline.
I know.
Headline.
Actually, yeah, cut all this now. But like
Jesus.
so I went to Argos because I just to get these knives. But so I
had no sofa, I had no TV.
yeah,
I just
but
needed knives.
No, I had the sofa, had the TV, needed knives for like cooking food and all. And so I went and
Thanks for clearing that up.
yeah,
Just
fine.
for cooking food.
Yeah, just for cooking, like please. But
just for cooking food. Don't get it confused.
But so I went there and I had the knives and they wouldn't sell it to me, and I had no idea that you needed ID, and I don't think a lot of people realize that you need ID.
I never realised that.
Yeah, no.
But I also had a knife in my hand when I asked. Yeah. I was like, "Can I have some more knives, please?"
Should have thought of that. Like, give me the knives. But I went like so I went home to my apartment without knives, like, and it was just I had to cook pizza, and it was a full pizza. And there was no knives to cut the pizza. So I was eating like
why'd you not get one of them pizza roller things?
Oh, do you know what? I was 18. I was dumb. Okay, right, forget. But
you burned the hands of yourself.
Yeah, no, yeah. It was just like I was eating like a cookie. Like,
just folding it up.
Just like I couldn't even fold it because it was a thick span.
Oh, jeez. That's funny. That's funny.
But it's like that's something that a social worker just wouldn't realize. You know?
Like, yeah, I think the same thing. Like, I think more people from Care need to be shown how they can get on this path and shown that they can get to this path, like being like solicitors, or like obviously there are people it is, but like encourage more. I think even with like therapy and counselling and stuff like that. Like it's like I think it should be specialised with people in care.
Yeah,
and that should be like a service that should be provided to everyone that needs it, and specialized is just for that team, because that is so important. Like,
yeah, I totally agree.
Having someone who may not share your exact experiences but understands,
yeah, and they can relate, like that.
Understands and relates. That's perfect. And can provide that and can help you.
Yeah,
it's so important, because I've touched on this before, when talking to other people. I've talked to some other people and they've said the counsellor has broke down crying after they have shared their story, or like what's been affecting them, or like this just happened to me, but this also just happened to me, and I'm also going through a lot right now, and I'm feeling a bit down, and this, like when you're like 15, 16, like even younger, older, like this is stuff, like it's like this is what's going on with me right now, and but
professionals can't really.
They
don't understand it. Like
they don't. But like they're like, I'm that, and it's like they're upsetting themselves. It's like I can't believe, like they can't handle it. Like, so it should be specialized. So when someone says this happens to me, this is how this is affecting me. It's like I understand. I may not know. I may have not lived your experience, but I understand where you're coming from, and they can be more gentle and more caring towards it.
Yeah, it's like I know that when I am a social worker, and like hopefully if I am working with young people in care or people that have care experience, that I'm never going to say that I know what you went through. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be more like if you want to talk about placements, I'm there. I can talk about that, you know. And it's more of that understanding. It's more of that. It's like I always think that, especially maybe not social workers, but professionals that kind of aren't in that area, like counsellors especially, if you say something and their face drops or something, like, you know, and that's not helpful, you know. It's like, and that's what I think that if a young person leaves care at 18 or just whatever age they end up leaving care, they need to have like some type of network that understands them, and they need to have some type of professional. Any professional that they work with needs to understand a basis of what the care system is like. I personally think that the aftercare policy needs to change in that way. I think every young person that leaves care should be entitled to some type of mental well-being or mental health counselling, and
Absolutely.
that should happen throughout care, but particularly when they leave, so that they have some type of network, and they need the person that's working with that person needs to have some type of understanding of the care system, and needs to be really, really versed up on that type of lived experience.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And I and just and it just needs to happen, and it's kind of a bit shocking that it doesn't happen at the moment. I know, like,
If they provide services like this, that's going to make a huge difference. That's going to cut down on so many things like homelessness
yeah,
and stuff like
yeah,
this. Like moving out at 18 for most people, it's a hard thing. You mightn't want to move out, you, but you have to. Like not for everyone, but like in
yeah,
cases, most cases, and
yeah.
it's like
Our care system kind of does force people out, and that's the not everyone, but it does definitely force out a number of people, and that's the truth of it. You wouldn't, in if you weren't in the care system, and if you were in the traditional like family unit,
hmm,
there's much less likely of chance of that happening. And I always question, why is it okay to kind of force out an 18-year-old person because they're in the care system, whereas you wouldn't force out your own son or daughter?
exactly. Like I was listening to a podcast and they're talking about something like this. It's just, do you haven't had care experience or anything? Because we're number one, baby.
Mm-hmm.
No, but they were talking about like how they didn't move out until they're like 24 or
Yeah,
something like that, and then they're like,
which still is so young
yeah,
as
yeah,
well,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And even with like, oh, like my parents didn't want me to leave and all this, like, and it's like, oh, like that's reality for like most people aren't in here. Like it's like you have someone that's pushing you not to leave. They want you there. Like you have a home. When the reality is for people in care, like for a majority, it's like, okay, you have to leave, and then as you said, you have no network. So how is this person meant to succeed if they have no
yeah,
network?
yeah,
It's
and
it's an implausible,
yeah,
like it's very tough, especially like
mm,
having no network. I think. Sorry, I'll let you talk. I don't want to interrupt, but having that thing where you're counselling, it's like every week it's checked in, yeah, or a weekly check-in,
mm,
and it's like, oh, this is what's struggling, and I'm struggling with this, and I'd love help with this,
yeah,
or like this just happened, and this, and then, like you don't have to be messed up or like going through something extreme to have counselling. I
yeah,
think counselling to keep on top of
yeah,
stuff is just like physical health. Like it's your health. It's not just mental health. It's just your health at the end of the day, and you should be keeping on top of it.
mm,
And I think for people with in care, I think it's such an important thing,
mm,
because when you feel like you have no one there and all that, it's easy to say like, oh, it doesn't matter if I do this, or like it doesn't matter if I do this, and you could get yourself in such a way
mm,
where you think people might not care about you, and then you feel like you have no people that cares about you. Then you could be like, oh, it doesn't matter, and then you end up drinking more
mm,
frequently or doing something like like not like worse, like drinking is frequently is horrible, like even like drugs or whatever. Like you might, but you could be the happiest person, most joyful person leaving care,
yeah,
and then you're faced with reality
yeah,
and feeling like you're helpless and hopeless and all
mm,
this, and then you could become reach a point that you could thought you could never reach. And I think that needs to be realized. Like
mm,
if you have less support out there, if you don't have that many people looking out for you, calling in, checking in, see how you are, then how are you really going to
mm,
fare against the odds?
yeah. I and I like I'm like you're way more versed stuff on this, and I should be interviewing you on this, but I just kind of think that like I'm still learning so much about it, and like and it's so that's a really important point to make, is that like people are like once you leave care, you're expected to survive, you know, you're expected to kind of do well, because for some totally strange reason, because so if you become homeless, or if you become if you for me, any type of what I've learned from working is that drug use and alcohol use is more of like a coping strategy a lot of the times, if there is, yeah. And I think it's so easy to start saying, well, that person was already a waster anyway, do you know?
Yeah.
And it's like you've already shut down then that type of support, because you're blaming them because they've used that as a coping strategy, rather than the supports that should have been in place already, do you know?
That could cut down on everything.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting point you're bringing up, because you can say, like, look at it like, so basically you kind of the man, as you say, is looking at people leaving care as like, oh, do you know what? They don't need these services. They don't like need this important things. Like, but like they're grand. They can fare off on their own. Like they can do their own thing. Like they're well capable of it, even though they lack the most support, right? Like most people have like their mother, their dad, auntie, or something like that. Not everyone has that. Like, and they're expected to get on great. Like it's like it's a mental concept, and then it's like, oh, like you knew, well, like what do you expect? He's from care, or something like that. Yeah. No wonder why. Like oh, he's like,
he was bound to fail already.
Yeah. He was like that person has an addiction. Alcohol,
he did it to
drugs.
Himself, like, you know?
Like just like not, like it's like they did it to themselves. It's like, oh, let me make an excuse for this. So you didn't help and all that. It's happened, and it's like, oh yeah, like what did you expect? Because the expectation's low. Yeah. But they expect us. But then it's like they're basically saying like, oh, but you can like do
so
this
you don't
on
need
your own.
supports.
You don't need, like, they're not giving the support.
Yeah.
And they're like, the expectation is low. Like.
And I think that just comes from like they've never met people that make decisions about care experienced people, have never actually met care experienced people, and that's the thing that annoys me so much, that we still that we just don't have that representation in the Dáil. We don't have I always think that, like, not to I think Tusla do a great job of what they do, but I always think there's always improvement, and Tusla will also say that they are a learning organisation, and I think you can meet with 10,000 young people in care, even more, like more than that there are in care, but that's never enough. You have to, because there's every experience is so different, and everyone will bring something to this, and I think that having those panels that Tusla do have with and inviting young people from care and that have their own experience is great, but I also that doesn't stop. That has to always happen. You know, there's never enough learning from care experienced people.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking to people that work in Tusla and like social workers and stuff like that, the thing that I've pointed out is it makes their job easier. Yeah. So you don't have to go in the boardroom. You don't have to drop like, oh, what is important? What should we do? What should we aim to do and all that?
By guessing,
by guessing, or even trying I think after months it's this. When one visit with one person for an hour or so, maybe less, you're like, oh, this is an important issue. And as you said, by constantly doing that, you're going to be tackling more issues and coming up with more solutions by involving yourself with people who actually experience it. So it benefits everyone. Like, so there's going to be a better care system, and you're going to have an easier job.
Yeah, like I think looking at Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister of Scotland, she finished it recently. She made a plan to meet 1,000 care experienced people, and she did it, and just to get their stories and see what improvements she needs to make. And
Yes.
I just think, like, why hasn't our Minister for Children done that? Why is that not happening?
Yeah, and that's actually an important thing to look at, like people's biases.
Mm.
Like everyone has, I know everyone has biases in some capacity, but like it's like just because they're like all like directly affected by something is just like, let's talk about this. But like it's your job to look at, as you're saying, all
Yeah,
the children.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah. And you decided to take up that role. Like, if you're, like, I never understand it. Like, if you decide to be a politician, or you go into Dáil, and you suddenly only care about one topic, or like just one area, and it's like, no, like, you have to really care about your community. It's, if you're particularly if you're a minister, if you're the minister for children, you have to look after every child and make sure that they like have that support and are able to transition into adulthood in a supportive way, and that in a positive way. And I just don't think we see that for young people in care. Just looking at the aftercare policy, and it's it needs to be updated, and it needs to be changed, because you see that those stats, like, young people in care are overrepresented in homeless figures by Focus Ireland. That's constantly said, and it just hasn't. It's fallen on deaf ears. It's just,
yeah,
it really annoys me. Housing. If you read the aftercare policy, it's adequate housing, and it's like, what is adequate
adequate.
housing?
Yeah,
And and also, like, a lot of young people don't even get that. And it's like, for me anyway, if I had a magic wand and was able to change the aftercare policy, and I had all the money in the world, I would make sure that every person that leaves care has to have a house that is warm, and that they have a bed, and
yeah,
that just should happen and has to happen. And hopefully our next government kind of like looks at that, like, hopefully addresses those concerns. And yeah, but it's not just housing with the aftercare policy. The whole thing needs to change
yeah,
completely.
absolutely. Yeah,
I think I totally support the idea that residential care should be to 21, aftercare should be to 26. And even after 2026, there needs to be a step down transition. It's not just suddenly cut off.
yeah. Like it all like everything like all that like is so interesting, and the point I always come back to with stuff like this is like if that was people that weren't in care, like you wouldn't even expect it. Like,
Mm.
and it's just the fact that you're talking to people who don't have that much already,
Mm.
and they're leaving with
Yeah.
little.
Yeah.
So you like a small thing like accommodation, all that. It's going to save money in other areas.
Yeah.
Like you're like looking for a house for homeless and all that. People could have proper futures and proper lives by just giving them like helping them get accommodation and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like, tell me to shut up, because I do. It's something that I'm so passionate about. That aftercare policy, I need, every time I see it, I just get annoyed. But I was over in Germany, and I was meeting other care leavers, talking about, it was way epic, and we were talking about kind of care experience in different countries, like. And I know in England, it, they definitely have their own issues with, even in what I'm going to be talking about, but they have their local authorities to help them, and while it does depend on your postcode for what level of support you get, it's still a lot more support than what our local authorities do. I don't think you could talk to any of our local authorities and they'd know about any type of the care experience.
Yeah, yeah, that's sad truth. We'll start tweeting that clip at people. All the politicians get some attention.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like,
We'll keep this part in as well.
yeah, and I also, like, I just want to say, like, I think it's brilliant that social worker was elected to law, which is a cool thing. Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, aftercare is a big thing. There's great aftercare workers out there, but there's also not great aftercare workers. If we're going to be completely honest, I'm talking to you, that invisible person that I don't know. But I don't know. I had a okay experience.
I had two aftercare workers, and they were definitely great. Like, you know, you could definitely you can definitely see that they really did try, and they were great even when I didn't want to talk to them for a while. I think the big thing with aftercare is with workers is that, like, there's your own it's that postcode lottery again, like, you know.
Compared to some other countries, it's not too bad, but it still needs to improve a lot.
Yeah.
Especially for younger people.
Yeah.
And going back to, if you take up a role for representing children and all that, you should represent all children. I believe that's the same with all kind of practices, like even this podcast. Like, me and Peter are hosting it, but we're talking to a lot of people with care experience, because we're learning as well, and like, we're trying to give everyone kind of a voice and a platform to talk about it. And that's the same thing with Epic Councils. That's the essence. It's just we're representing people from care to help them and change policy. It's not about us. At the end of the day, it's not about for attention for us. Like, it's more for people in care. Like, the only reason I have done some pieces like the people of Dublin and like even the Irish Times is because of the benefits it would bring to the Epic Council, and in the highlighting the care and all that. I personally don't really like talking about my own stuff because it's not actively bothering me and all that. Like, I'm just getting on with my life and all that.
And I think
it's not a story. Like, it's my life. Like, let me ask you about some personal stuff in your life and see how fast you'll tell me. You wouldn't say nothing. Like,
I think we kind of come from the same kind of idea that, like, if we are kind of doing those type of pieces, it's always for that. Well, someone that's in care at the moment might see it, and they might read it and get some bit of support from that, like, or a policy maker might see it, and they might kind of do something
just to educate people and like just to relate. That goes perfectly into my next segment, my next question, and that is, what advice would you give to people that's in care right now?
I'd say really be open with who is working with you. I know that's like, if someone said that to me, I'd be real like, no, stop. But I just think
it's
that if a social worker is working with you but for you as well, and to know that don't be shy, like, asking those questions, like, you have a social worker, use them, you know. I think that's really important to know. And
the word's not against you, like,
there's such a negative stigma against social workers, and they're not really that liked either. But I just think, just if you have an issue, say it to them. And it's why I know, like, you know, it's why I'm studying to become a social, because I do want to help people, and I'd hate for any of my clients kind of feel like that they wouldn't want to talk to me about things that I might be able to help with, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think that's the biggest. It's such a big thing, like, and that comes down to also that there needs to be that relationship built as well. Like, social workers need to be relatable, and
it's a two-way thing.
Yeah, it is. It's such a two-way thing. It's give and take, you know. And I think that it's still something that I am learning, because, like, you know, I've only kind of started now in September, but I'd hope to maybe get to that point where I might also be able to talk about my care experience, you know, if it was relevant. But it is that give and take, and being able to relate and to build that relationship, because you're not going to be open to someone that you don't really want to talk to, or you don't want to be around, you know.
I think a good point to add to that is the social worker is there for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
not for your foster parents, residential care,
Totally.
whatever. They're there for you.
Yeah.
If you have an issue and think, they're gonna say, I'm gonna like get in trouble, or like, they're gonna look at me differently or whatever. It doesn't matter if it's affecting you and you're upset about it. Talk to the social worker. They're there for you.
Yeah, definitely. And that also includes your care review meetings.
Definitely go to your care
go
review.
to them.
Definitely go.
Because I know I missed a few.
I only went to one.
I think I only went to one or two as well, actually. But I just think they're so important, you know.
Important.
And if any changes that you want to see, they're done there, you know. It's so important to go to them and have your voice heard. Particularly like if you are coming up that age where you are going to transition out of care. And I know like, even the way they're kind of set up is a bit weird. Like, you know, you'll see people that you probably don't want to see at care review meetings, but just knowing that like going in, wait, this is what I want to say and this is what I need to get heard is so important.
Yeah, it's absolutely. I only went to one, but like it's just you're talking about your life, like what you want to see improvement. You can voice your own voice, and you're not letting someone else do it for you. Yeah,
that's it. Like, and even if you can't go, get someone to get your voice out there. You know, get. I know, like it's easy to say, get your social worker to say what you want to say, but I know that's not all the time easy to do. But
the social worker will say it more in black and white and how it actually is, rather than because you're living with these people, whether it's foster carers, residential, whatever. You're living with them, so there's going to be more of a bias because obviously, if you're saying something that's negative about them or whatever, then they're not going to want to bring that up, are they? Like.
The first, actually, a good bit of advice I learned, actually, that I kind of still keep with me, I was given to it on my first day of actually entering care.
Run away.
Yeah.
Run away.
No, it's
downhill from here.
It was just use the care system. You know, if if you go into care, you do get more supports. You have supports. It's not like you're just
supports that you need.
The supports that you need, and use them. And you know, ask for things. It never hurts to ask. You know, what's the worst thing that can do? Because I know I asked for a guitar before.
Yeah.
And like that was something that I didn't expect to get, like, you know, because and I ended up and I did get it, and I even got lessons, you know, but like you have to ask.
You have to ask, and I know like not just like in just general rejection is a hard thing, but getting used to rejection with these kind of things is going to put you a lot further. Like just ask, like there's a lot of stuff that's actually available that you might not know about, even like Epic, like as advocates or anything like that, stuff that you don't need, just ask. Like more than likely you will get it,
but if you don't get it, then ask for reasons why. Do you know,
ask why. Question it, no doubt.
Always question everything.
It's like it's okay to ask questions because they should have the answers. That's their work. But ask, because you might be like, we can't do this, but you know what, we can do this. We can do this. Just ask. There's no limit to it.
Definitely.
And if they say no, Yeah. That's the worst that happened. Actually, the worst thing that could happen is like, we hate you, don't follow your dreams. And get out of my house.
That's what I was told.
that's exactly what I was told, and that's why I stopped asking. No, just ask. Like, the world's your oyster, man.
And ask for an aftercare worker. You know, start making those conversations.
First is passionate, and now it's ask for them.
If you are 17 and you don't have an aftercare worker,
there's an
start
issue.
Asking.
Talk to your social worker. You should definitely have an aftercare worker. And aftercare, I know with the word care is like, it's like, I don't want to get involved in it, but it's so important. Like getting an education. Actually, we'll talk about education in 1 sec. But aftercare, get involved. Like, it's more support. You'd be foolish not to take advantage of it. It's support.
Yeah.
How important is education to you? future social worker?
For me, like me personally, education is it was really really important to me. I think going to college and all and getting that experience and meeting people that wouldn't really be in the cases and wouldn't really know anything about it was really important, because I got to kind of for years before I joined the Epic Youth Council, like I just didn't even really like think about the care system, well, because I was around people that just weren't exposed to it and didn't know anything about it, and I wasn't gonna, like I always think it's real, like I'm always real like shocked, and like maybe shocked is not the best word, but like inspired, I guess, when I see people on the youth council being so open about their care experience, like, because I know I was not like that when I was 18 at all, and I just think it's a great thing to see, like, but education is really really important to me. I really really enjoyed college, and even get into college, like I just knew I had to get to college. Just it just opens more doors, like, you know, for me anyway. You know, I was able to go on to do social work and stuff, and even like when I, like before social work, I was kind of going around, maybe teaching was for me, maybe medicine was for me, and I know while medicine wasn't going to happen,
Wow.
social work could have, like,
Why was medicine not going to happen?
because I guess, like, so when I started doing started thinking about doing medicine, it was more like my friend was thinking about doing this, so I was like, oh, I didn't think that, like, you know, we could do something like that, like, and she was like, oh yeah, no, go try it, like. So we had to do this exam, and passed the exam.
Did your friend pass?
I don't know, actually, we don't talk about it, so maybe not.
What is bad out?
But the biggest thing was that it was getting funding for medicine, which is very very expensive. It's more expensive than kind of any course that I would have seen. I can't remember the fees, but it was like something crazy, you know, and I couldn't get any funding for that, but like, so that was it. That was, yeah. So, but I kind of look back at it now, kind of glad, because social work, I just absolutely love it, like, you know, and I think I think it's a really stupid thing to want to do medicine because your friend was doing it, you know, and that's how it ended up, like, you know, that's how it almost was going to be for me.
You were fortunate to be that smart. So, no, if I just wanted to do medicine because my friend did medicine, I wouldn't even get close.
I definitely think I definitely think they messed up or something with the score, like, because I would not be able to remember any of the science anymore at all, like, you know. It was it was more of a cramming test kind of thing, but it, like, you know,
but there should be more fun for stuff like that when people
like, you know,
get the opportunity to study medicine, do something amazing. Like, so much focus is on, like, people are homeless and, like, care and, like, stuff, like all these statistics. What about the statistics of people being able to get into medicine and these high courses, but you just can't afford it? There should be funding and things in place where they're able to attend these things, and they should not, like, not be able to just because of their background and their experiences.
Or
I think that's awful.
what money they have, or what money they have access to.
Exactly.
I think there's a lot of things now that like, if you the stats show that, like, a lot of care leavers end up going to college later in life because they are going through such a weird time in when they transition out of care. And I think stuff like Susie and
Susie. Do you say Susie?
I said Susie, yeah. S-U-S. God, I've
don't
been
know.
saying it wrong my whole life.
I say Susie, but I could say it wrong.
I know,
Maybe,
but I've heard that sounds better than Susie.
maybe it's an educated man versus an uneducated man.
No, stuff like it. I think you're right, though. Like, Sushi, no, I don't know.
I am right, because the educated man will
Susie.
always get it.
Oh yeah, okay.
You don't think I'm insulting myself again, Dylan. Jesus
We're both
Christ.
educated men.
We're both educated men.
Yeah. But they don't really kind of take into account that how strict Susie is. They don't take into account what someone is going through.
No, do not.
And
Well, don't cut me off. I'll agree with you in a few years when I don't get Susie anymore.
oh yeah, like
I agree with Susie
guys.
and all her policies. If people
Yeah.
don't get it, it's their own fault.
Yeah.
Please give me the money.
Yeah. Is there anywhere else? Is there anything else that we can bash? No, I'm joking.
Oh yeah. What else can we
Let's
bash?
bring
Bash in the segment. Peter Lane.
Oh yeah.
He's not here today.
He was actually my advocate when I was very young, when I was still in care. And
that's what you're feeling in life right
Yeah,
now.
he reminded me actually one day, and I totally forgot because I like to block out those years. Yeah, no, it's mad how like you just kind of come back to people like in life, you know.
Yeah, it's Peter's
He's
amazing,
brilliant. Yeah.
brilliant. Jesus, bollocks. Gonna have to cut that one, aren't I? Same bollocks.
It's your podcast. Don't cut down everything. keep all the bollocks in there.
Yeah, keep all the bollocks for president. So you're also a songwriter, and you found your creative journey through the care system. I don't know why I said it like that.
Yeah.
Bad weird. So why did you start songwriting?
I remember growing up and like always being like involved in music in some way. Like I learned the piano pretty young, and I say piano, but it was like a fucking little keyboard with like maybe 25 keys on it. Like
It's the scales are repeated anyways. Like so, like it's the same kind of. I say you have a sussed out.
Yeah, hopefully. No, I think at this stage maybe not actually.
Maybe.
But yeah, like so I've always loved music and I've always been involved in music, but I think being in when I went into care, it was definitely more of it. Kind of became more of a like a not a coping, but like a bit of like something that I could do, to escape kind of that situation. Like, you know, if I was having a bad day or something like that, like it was great to be able to sit down at the keyboard. And then I learned the guitar later, like and just write a few things, and even just singing covers and stuff. Like I just really, even now today, like I just love doing that, like, and learning new songs, like, and I think it's important to have that hobby for me, so my life isn't just about like the social work and the care system and stuff like that. Like it's important to kind of have that as well. But
you have a song out that we did a previous podcast and we're talking anyways. How do you feel after the release of that? How do you feel like about the feedback and how people received it?
Yeah, the feedback was great. Like, it was like a tiny bit of it was played on the RTE news, so I was just I heard my voice on the 6 o'clock news, so like I'm set, you know, like where are the royalties? Yeah, like that's what I'm waiting for at the moment. It's like, but like that was pretty cool. Like,
TV
you know,
license, like you'd be fast on it, like, but they won't give you your royalties. Like,
actually, I'm not even going to say yes.
Me now. No.
Yeah, I've always paid for that. Like, you know, I don't have a TV. But cut out. The response I got was just really, really nice. You know, really, because I wrote it about I kind of tried to go back to being how I felt when I was 18, leaving care, and that's kind of, the song is called Conveyor Belt. And it's kind of just
that's
like
Mexican
how
for
conveyor belt.
I didn't say that's a Spanish. I think I just said that's Mexican. I'm an ignorant. I'm an ignorant man.
Gosh.
I'm an ignorant man.
Oh my god! Like I shouldn't be here. Like, poor Mexicans.
I got the feedback I got on it was like, oh, it's like a proper song, like
Yeah, hopefully, thankfully, like
oh, like it's actually
it's not
like,
shit.
yeah, like you can listen back to it and
Yeah,
all that.
yeah, yeah. I like I'd feel a bit disappointed if the feedback was like, this is not a proper song.
It's not a proper song.
Yeah, like
Uh,
delete that. Like,
we performed the song in the cobblestone where I choked on stage.
but you brought it back though, and I think that's really important because you keep saying that you choke. But the best way to see if someone is a showman or that showmanship is the fact that if they're able to bring it back. Because people do choke all the time. I say Peter chokes, like, you know.
On what? Inappropriate jokes.
Yeah,
Inappropriate
poor
jokes.
Peter.
No, like it's like and sound check. I was grand. I went through it, confident. Boom, on stage after a double whiskey. I'm not gonna blame it on the whiskey. No, on stage, I was like, single mothers, prison cells, hope.
Hope for the hopeless.
Hope. Yeah, I'm choking again. I just forgot it, and then it's funny because the part I came back in on the song is I need focus. After choking, like I need focus. So that was pretty funny.
Yeah,
but it was good.
The right time, like, yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
No, and you did bring it back, like, and it was actually really good because that, like, I just think it was great that Epic could allow that to happen. That kind of coming together, like care experience people to kind of make that music, because I've said it before, like I'm a big person for that care experience people need to be represented everywhere. You know, that's not just politics but music. I think we don't have enough songs about being care. Even thinking about it, like I tried to look up any, and there's one by, I think her name is Martina McBride or something like that, and she wrote a song called Concrete Angel or something like that, but it's about foster care, but I don't think she was in the system, so it's like it's coming from someone like, and
it's up to you apparently.
Yeah, we need to start allowing.
It's gonna be hard to be a social worker if you're a superstar.
Yeah, I just social work by day, Beyonce by night.
So you're on the Late Late Show.
I was, yeah.
Talking about yourself with a few brilliant people from Epic. How do you feel?
It was so nerve-wracking. It was terrifying.
Take me through it. So you're on the phone, you're talking about it, you got a call from the producer, and you're happy to go ahead.
Yeah.
Got the news, it's going to be this day. We all shut up the Epic office. We were looking at we went in first because we were looking at the 6 o'clock news.
Yeah.
Because Roisin
did an interview, just great.
Terry and Bernard were all on an interview on RT, so we were watching that, which was great. Like it was good. Then you come back afterwards because everyone's kind of getting ready and you're going to leave. When did the nerves kick in for you?
The whole day.
The whole day.
Yeah, like I'm not like, I don't know, just that type of stuff. I always get nervous that I'll say something really stupid or something, you know. Or I think the biggest, when you're talking about something personal, the worst thing is that you end up looking like a victim, and that's one thing I'd hate to happen.
It's a hard balance,
yeah.
Especially when it's written on paper by like some newspaper or something like that.
So it was good. So we were brought into RTE, and we went up to the green room, and that's like where like a lot of the guests would sit, like and Roy Keane was there, which is great. I got a selfie with him. He was really nice.
Handsome man.
Yeah, definitely. Too handsome.
Too handsome.
Too handsome for his own good.
There's puppies in the hollow, are there?
Yeah, there was puppies and all. Like, yeah.
Why were there puppies?
So they were doing a piece on guide dogs.
Oh, sick.
And then it was really cool. And we were brought on. And so Ryan asked us a few questions about kind of our own experience, and
how'd you feel about that? Big tall man coming at you.
Yeah, nerve-wracking, you know. I kind of like, it's always balancing that, like I don't want to look like a victim, but like I also think it's important to bring up issues that there are. Like, so for me, I brought up that there's an issue around getting a loan if you're a care leaver, because particularly with student loans, you need a guarantor.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me, they were just so, they really needed a blood relative, and it just wasn't going to happen. Like, I wasn't going to be able to give them a blood relative as a guarantor, but I had other, like, great guarantors, that would be my next of kin now,
Yeah.
and it's, yeah, and so that's kind of what I was talking about. But I, like, so it's,
You
yeah.
spoke really well as well. I
Yeah,
think you
thanks.
highlighted good issues.
I still kind of think about, like, and I kind of just, yeah, it's like, I think you'll always kind of, there's always stuff that you always want to say, kind of when you're in that, when you leave that space and stuff, you're like, oh, I should have said this, I should have said that.
There's a saying for that. Peter was telling me there's a saying. It's about by some French lad or something. I forget the saying, but what the saying means basically, do you know when you walk up the stairs and you're like halfway and you're like, oh fuck. Do you know, like you remember like there's something downstairs.
Yeah,
I forget the name of the saying, like, but that's basically what happened. Like, it's natural because like you're. Like,
I need to know that saying.
Did you get makeup done on a holiday? Like,
Yeah, like the makeup.
How'd that feel?
Awkward, really awkward.
Because you're just staring at people. Like,
No, because they're touching my face and like, there's fucking makeup on me. Like, I'm gonna rub the makeup off me. Like, I don't wear makeup all the time.
All the time. And did you take advantage of the free bar
after the interview?
Raging.
Definitely.
I would have took advantage of the whole thing. Like, I would have been like, Ryan, what's going on? What's story, pal?
I think I had one before I went on.
Oh,
and
dangerous.
Even then I was like, I'm a lightweight anyway.
I won, like, and it was like 3 doubles or something.
Yeah.
So that's really good. That's a good thing to be talking about. I think it was a great interview. You can still find on RT Player for how long, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's usually like 30 days or something like that. They keep them up or something. So
it should be still up by the time this is out. But, well, hopefully by the time you're listening, we're recording this on the Wednesday, the 26th of February. So I probably will be. I'll probably release this one first. So like, hopefully it will be. So that's very interesting. So what services do you think are needed for care in general? I know we already covered a bit.
Yeah.
But is there any other services that you think are needed?
I think service staff. I just think having like a general section for care experienced people, I think is just so important, because what our issues are totally maybe totally different to someone that wasn't in the care system. Stuff like mental health services just needs to be available, like, and it shouldn't be assessment based. It should just be there.
Yeah.
And also, because I know, like, I would have heard horror stories of people in counselling, and they would the counsellor would start wanting to bring up stuff about not really understanding the what the care system was, and bringing up stuff about family and stuff like that. Like,
stuff,
and it's just like just learning a bit more, having a bit more. But it's not their fault at the end of the day either. It comes down to more that policy changes, bringing in that, like, you have to understand this. I think if the councils need to have an understanding of care experience, they're just like especially the council, for like, so many services go on in that council that people use, and there's just no kind of there's no care experience section. There's no there's no knowledge of that. I also think education, colleges should maybe start
from the ground up. I think
this
from
is,
younger ages, like, it should be like just incorporated naturally. Like, even if you're reading, like, say, primary schools, kids books and all that, there should be more kids books with, like, people from care and all that. So the understanding of it, and then how it can be normalized from a young age, going up, I think that will make a change for the years to come. But for now, obviously
Yeah.
what you're saying
And
is,
it works, you know. We learn now about in CSBE and SBHE. Like I know I learned about LGBT uh, relationships and sexual health and that kind of thing. Why can't we have that in about care experienced people and learning about the foster care system?
Mhm.
Just so it doesn't become this thing that you either know nothing about or you learn it from a negative way. Like you learn it from media stories that show like this person is missing, and then the comments. This also annoys me, but when you see when a young person goes missing, the comments are usually like, are they from care? They're from that house or something. You know, it's
yeah,
they're so. Oh, they're just like a typical runaway. Do you know that
yeah,
type of
yeah,
thing? And it's like that person ran away. Like have a bit of like like a bit more empathy. Do you know?
yeah. Like, because as comes back to everything, was if it was at your door and someone was commenting down and someone that ran away that was close to you,
Yeah,
oh, people are horrible, people are disgusting. Matt, do you know, like,
yeah.
same kind of thing.
I also think colleges, and I know this is like if I had a big magic wand or something, like, you know, and was able to just
Or
have
an
all this
army
money.
full
Yeah,
with
yeah,
guns.
yeah.
That'd probably help as
That
well.
would definitely, maybe not in the best way, but
Not
like
the best
there's
way.
probably other ways, you know. Hopefully, but like, you know, like maybe let's start with it, like a conversation, you know.
Maybe a conversation, yeah.
But
Maybe a meeting.
I think colleges and campuses should maybe start looking at having rooms for young people in care. I know that I definitely would have benefited from it. And I know Maynooth were absolutely brilliant for me. Like they did so much for me. But I just think having accommodation on campus for young people in care would just add so much to their experience of college, and also that support. Because you're helping with the homelessness as well as you're helping with the, like if someone is studying in a hostel, and that does happen. People that are studying for their leaving certs are in hostels.
Yeah.
And it's like having that support there, like, you know, that like, well, when you do get into college, we have this room for you. Imagine, like, you know, I just think it's shouldn't be, and obviously it comes from funding, you know, that needs to be made.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But
With
I don't
was it
think it's a big ask though.
no, like with the 60 million last year
yeah,
being thrown back, I don't think there is
and this
a shortage of money, is there? Like,
I just hope that the next Minister for Children just doesn't do that. Like I just that just really, like, and I know I was listening to the to the podcast. I know Peter was very annoyed at that as well. I'm also I'm just gonna lift this up actually. Lifting the mic up. That really annoyed me,
No, that
especially when there's so many asks.
Jesus
There's so
Christ.
many things that need to happen. Like,
It's not like people aren't asking for stuff. People
Yeah,
are like,
yeah.
there's like Epic and other
Yeah.
stuff, or services. They're asking for these this funding for this or this, and a help with this and this, and it's like all these policies or whatever, and then they're difficult with money, and then throw 60 million back. 60
million. Like, you know,
Jesus
just think of what, like, you know,
Christ,
it's
60 million. Do you know what a tenner can get you?
yeah.
A tenner can get you a lot.
Yeah. Depends on what you want. Like, but no,
Yeah.
I like on my placement at the moment. I'd go out to a lot of agencies and organizations and stuff like that. And the big thing that I'm constantly hearing is that they don't have that type. They need a lot more funding, you know. And I think that's probably across the board, you know. It's like, so for her, actually no, for
Catty.
Because I say it wasn't just her, you know. I say it was,
It's a collective decision.
yeah, it was a collective decision, and just to give it back to say it's not needed is just, it really boils my blood, you know. It really does.
These are fully functional adults in power.
And they really thought
Jesus
that,
Christ.
yeah.
That's a brilliant decision. So, jeez. Okay. Okay. We're nearly finished, so let's finish on some positivity. Right. So, residential obviously shaped you a lot.
Mm.
Do you remember one person or like moment that like shifted your life, like where like they might have like give you some encouraging words, or they might have just been there to support you throughout the thing, like throughout your life, that like in residential, that is like, oh, do you know what, I think I'm able to pursue education, I think I'm able to do this because of this person, or I feel more motivated and I feel happier within myself.
Okay,
That's a big question. That is a big question.
There's
Sorry.
it's a good question, like, and I think it's really, like, because I think it's a great question, like, the biggest, there's so many I don't want to give just one moment, because I don't think that would be fair on the staff, like that, like, because they were just every day, like, they were that great support, but
Maybe if you can't answer that, because obviously that's a hard question, maybe another, where do you think you'd be if you didn't have that support from these amazing people?
Yeah, so like
say like people, sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting you. Say people, like, you didn't have the best experience, there was no support there, people weren't trying to support you, you didn't have the amazing people, key work or anything. What do you think would have happened?
Actually, I'm going to answer both questions.
This went pretty negative after me talking
yeah,
about being positive.
Right.
This is media.
I'll say, and kind of like, so, like, I always remember, I remember all my staff members, but I think it's just the funniest staff member I have was a woman called Anastasia, and she just really, really just encompasses what a social care worker is. She brought her own experience to her work, and and they all did, but her, and she was just so funny. Like, I can't even tell some of the stories, like, 'cause they're just so funny. Like, but I just know, like, she thought it was so important to show me that, like, life isn't just care, life isn't just I don't have to just settle for little things, I don't, like, I can have, and it was also a staff member called Lisa as well. They were so encouraging of, if you want to live in this big mansion and all, like, that's something that you can do, and she, like, and that's something that if you put your mind to it, you can do. And I think, well, it's not, it's now that I'm a bit older, like, it's not as easy but it's for that's what I needed then,
Yeah, exactly.
and they would bring me out to there's this road I think it's in D4, kind of called, I think it's called Millionaires Road or something like that. Like, it's full of these massive mansions. They'd bring us around there, like, saying, like, and it's like, see, like, always remember that it's like youth can have this as well. And I just think that was so encouraging, and like, even going to like nice restaurants and stuff like that, like, and having that, like, and showing us, like, that you don't have to get bogged down in this one specific area, or you don't have to always believe that this is going to be my life, and I just thought it was just brilliant, and I think it's always important to remember that like, it changed, like, that where you are now is not where you are going to be in 10 years or even the year after, and I just think it was really nice, and
that's amazing.
Yeah, and I just think there should be more of that, like, encouraging ambition, encouraging hobbies, encouraging education, but not education in the way that, like, you have to get a leaving cert, you have to get into college, like just in learning, in learning new things and going out and experiencing things. I definitely wouldn't, if some people just like, the standard way we learn just isn't for a lot of people, and we can see that now. And but there's so many other ways, to get where you want to be.
Yeah, there's plenty of ways. There's not just said one set way.
Yeah.
From what you're saying about them, aside from like all the amazing stuff, there's a kindness there.
Yeah.
There's a natural want to, like, help and just, like, and which is amazing. Like, she went out of her way,
Yeah.
and other workers went out of their way
Mm.
to make sure you didn't feel less.
Yeah, yeah. It's going above and beyond that what their role is, you
Yeah,
know. It's like they really like, and I'll always have great memories of that, like, you know, and that's something that it's just so important to have because it's like, and it's now when I the reason why I wanted to become a social worker is because those type of things shaped me. You know, it's so
the
important.
positives.
Yeah, it's so important to recognize ambition. It's so important to build support. It's so important to just look at people as not just their issue, but to look at them as a whole person with like wants and abilities, and you know, and that's when I'm a social worker, hopefully. Like that's the kind of things that I want to build on. I even looking at Care Day last year, I saw a social worker bring out one of their young people, and like that's going and that's just and it's particularly when Care Day wasn't that well known last year. It was he knew about it, like, you know, and like that's kind of the social worker that I want to be, the one that goes above and beyond, that like they're not being set in a way they're that they can the that they can achieve what they want to achieve, or even that like there's always pathways to things, you know, and always celebrating their background instead of looking at it as a bad thing, using their background, you know.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Like, I think it's needed. Like, and I think an important point on that is, although you may experience a lot of like bad stuff in your life, it's good people like that that stands out more.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
definitely.
like I was saying, like out of all the social workers I have, I remember one
Mm,
that actually I engage with and all that
yeah,
more than everyone else.
I'd be the same. I'd remember one social worker
Yeah,
who was just really funny as well, you know.
actually, too. There's another fella who, for like something happened, but like a period of 2 weeks, he used to like drop me at the school and all that.
Mm.
We listen to music like rap
Yeah,
music, like
yeah.
Wu Tang, whatever,
Mm.
and he's brilliant. It's people like to say, oh, like people focus on negatives, and like maybe like it's hard to ignore the negatives,
Mm.
even if there's positives when the negatives outweigh the positives.
Yeah.
But I do think positive people will outlast and outstand people
Yeah.
who are haven't done anything for you. They'll be a lasting thing in your memory.
Mm.
Finish up on a proper positive thing. Care Day. Care Day was 20,
Yeah, 21st.
21st of February, and it was on a Friday.
Yeah.
And you were a minute
Yeah.
with Angelica,
Yeah, Angelica.
and how did that go?
It was great. It was our first time. I think it was Minute's first time as well, actually doing something that was for awareness of the care experience and Care Day, and so what we did was we went to the first year applied social science classes and did talks and just talking about Care Day and what it was about, and the response was just like so good, like, and it's really nice to see that like those first years are going to be the policy makers of the future, you know,
Yeah,
because they go into that because they want to make change, you know, and or else the next social workers, you know, it was just really like it was nice how engaged that they were in it, and how they wanted to learn more, and when we were telling everyone to write down the hashtag on your hands and to post it, and like, and some of them did, like, and it was really nice, like, and then after that we had a big wall of positivity, so we set up this stand and just had like the Care Day wall of positivity like slogan,
yeah,
and we were asking people to just write any type of positive note that they can that they can think of. And at the start, what we were seeing was that people just weren't doing it, and we were kind of wondering why. Like, so we started asking people, like, "Oh, would you mind signing our wall?" Like, and they were telling us, like, well, they don't know what Care Day is. So we were like, it was we had to we were explaining what Care Day was. That it's a celebration of anyone that was in residential care, foster care, any type of care that isn't the traditional family unit. And it was just really nice to kind of get that awareness out there, especially in a university that would have a lot of the next policymakers, because they're in the applied social science and stuff.
Yeah, stuff like that's going to make a change. You're doing amazing work, and you're a really good person to represent care and stuff you're doing for folks on Ireland, and the work you're doing is amazing. I want to thank you for coming on the podcast.
No problem.
This has been brilliant. This is technically your second time on the podcast.
Oh yeah, second time. I forgot all about that actually. The first time.
Dillon came to me and he was like, "Oh yeah, I was listening to the episode of the podcast. I've really this is my favorite episode." And then I was listening back to the episode. Who was talking in the first 5 minutes?
Oh,
Dillon.
I didn't listen to that part.
I was like, no wonder why it was his favorite episode. Jesus Christ, you egotistical man.
Yeah, no, I skipped over that part, and I have a new favorite one. The one with Bernard Gloucester is my favorite one now.
Oh,
it was so good.
Bernard Gloucester, yeah, it's a great man.
Yeah, and you can kind of see that there's a bit of hope there, for change, and so it seems like he's really, from what it came from the podcast and meeting him, that he seems committed enough.
There's a want,
yeah.
And with his position, there will be change, no doubt. Just promoting and all that kind of there. He seems very interested. Also, I want to say, from me and Peter, I want to say a big thank you to everyone that's been supporting the podcast so far. Even though you have to kind of go out of your way to go on the website to do it, it's on SoundCloud. Should be on Spotify. This should be on Spotify. If it's not, I apologize. By now,
wow. Yous are moving up with Spotify.
Moving up. It's been an amazing few weeks with the podcast so far, and seeing it grow and people engage and enjoying it. It was amazing being on RT2FM and speaking about it on that platform. That was amazing. Overall it was great. I'm very happy to be part of that and be doing things like this. So once again, thank you. Glad we had you on the podcast. We need to get you on it again in the future.
Oh yeah, maybe we do an update next year when I'm a social worker. Hopefully.
1 year and a year's time on this exact day, we'll do that and we'll see how that goes.
Did you ever see that Billie Eilish? Yeah, I was thinking.
And in 2 years, Peter won't understand what I'm on about. Billie Eilish, Peter.
No, he likes Billie Eilish, I think, actually.
Does he?
I don't think he's seen the video.
No, actually, he does know Billie Eilish because we were talking about her when we were at the radio station. Yeah. He said he likes her because his daughter's her as well. Yeah. Okay. I don't know how much I'm going to keep this in. Do you know what? I'm going to keep it all in. All right. Thank you for listening. This has been the Care Experience Podcast, episode 7, and I've been your host.
Like and subscribe to the Care Experience Podcast.